Hello friends, welcome to my channel where we plunge headfirst into a roller coaster of excitement and adventure through tales that'll have you on the edge of your seat. So please hit the subscribe button. Let's dive in. It was the fall of 1996, and at 35 years old, Judex, as he was called, lived his life like a fast-moving train without any brakes. Little did he know his life was about to change drastically. The Grand Hotel entrance doors swung open and Judex stepped outside. He paused for a second, soaking in the ambiance, and with a broad smile, he walked toward his awaiting limousine, radiating arrogance and confidence. In the limo were 5 beautiful young ladies, champagne in hand and the aroma of Cuban cigar in the air. Judex settled in, and the limo driver pulled out into the city traffic. The party was on, and Judex was the man of the hour. As the limousine rolled on and the city lights twinkled outside, Judex relaxed back and went into a half nap. The Niger Delta, where the waters once flourished with fish and the land yielded a bounty, but all there is now are rusty oil rigs and a life's worth of grievances. Judex was born in Warri, a poor little community filled with black natural diamonds. Life was hard and opportunities scarce, so when Uncle G offered to help bring Judex up, his parents agreed. He was just 17 and Uncle G was in his 30s and doing good for himself, so Judex thought. Well, Uncle G turned out to be the leader of a kidnapping gang and so became Judex, a member. His first mission with the group to kidnap a white American oil engineer. Well before the mission, Uncle G assured Judex that his actions were of righteous indignation, a noble crusade to reclaim what rightfully belonged to them. It was 1:20 a.m. in the dead of night. The gang attacked the engineer's home, and 6 minutes later, they had a middle-aged white American, a black Nigerian woman, and a mixed-race child. The little girl looked so bewildered, her frightened eyes pleading, sobbing, so Judex turned to Uncle G for a flicker of humanity, but his expression was blank and cold. Within 20 minutes, the gang was out with the engineer, some cash and jewelry. As they drove off, Judex couldn't stop thinking about the innocent little girl's face. This was the beginning of a wild array of kidnappings, robberies, killings, alcohol, drugs, and sex. As the money rolled in, so did the numbness. And for Judex, happiness was elusive. He was spiraling into a darker version of himself, a spiteful, perplexed, and purposeless. Judex was still deep in thought, half asleep and half awake, when we was jolted into reality by a loud bang. Things seemed hazy, and then he completely blacked out. Judex woke up in a hospital ward, swaddled in bandages. He had been unconscious for 3 days. He later learned 2 of the girls had lost their lives. 2 would never walk again, and only 1 had managed to emerge unscathed. Oh, and the driver? He had died on the spot. While in the hospital, Judex had extensive tests, and it was revealed that he was HIV positive and needed alcohol and drug dependency rehabilitation. After several months of treatment, he came out of rehab with his bank account completely depleted, and his conscience weighed a ton. Alone, famished and rattling with guilt, plus being HIV positive, Judex knew if he had to survive and be able to do some penance for his past transgressions, he had to completely change his mindset. After months of homelessness, petty job searching, and finding God, he was lucky to find an NGO that focused on helping those who were suffering from HIV and the fallout of violence, and they gave him a chance to work as a volunteer in exchange for a small room to live in. With a newfound sense of purpose, Judex began street evangelism, so to say, talking to people about getting tested for HIV and how to get help if you were caught up in a cycle of violence for whatever reason. Soon enough, he started getting audiences at secondary schools and prisons. He shared his stories and advised young people about staying away from violence and never falling for the promise of a quick payday. 6 years, and the NGO was so impressed with Judex's commitment to turning his life around that the founder decided she wanted to meet and thank him for his work. Judex was excited because he had never been appreciated for something truly good. On the day Judex was to meet the founder, he sat on a bench outside her office. Moments later, the secretary announced, "Time for you to meet the owner of the NGO, Judex." With that cue, Judex sprang up, straightened his shirt collars, and ventured into the office. The owner? A young lady was busy writing something on a piece of paper when Judex walked in, and the moment she lifted her head and locked eyes with him, Judex froze. He turned completely white. "Hello, Judex. Are you okay?" she asked, her brows arching with genuine concern. After what felt like an eternity, Judex regained himself and answered, "Yes, ma'am. Please, do sit down," she offered, gesturing to the chair. Judex's mind was in complete chaos. He couldn't even decipher what she was saying. Her words were drowned out by the haunting echoes of Uncle G shouting at the little girl's father, while tears streamed down the child's face. That had been his very first mission with Uncle G, and sitting before him was that same little girl whose father had been kidnapped. Judex felt like he would melt. "I'm Miss O'Dealy, the owner of this NGO. I'm sure you've heard about me, and I've heard all about the wonderful work you've been doing. I was also informed that you don't have any formal education, and I'd like to change that. I want to sponsor you through school, up to your first degree, while you continue your invaluable work with the NGO." She wrapped it all up by suggesting he take 2 days to consider her proposal. Those were the 2 longest days of Judex's life. He had been on a penitent pilgrimage, trying to right the wrongs of his youth, and now he was about to face the ultimate test, confessing his sins to her. This was no small potato. It could cost him his shot at school and possibly toss him into jail for a long time. But on the flip side, it also offered him the hope of genuine forgiveness. With a heavy heart, Judex arrived at the NGO. He approached Mrs. O'Dealy's office and sat on the bench to wait to be ushered in. After what felt like an eternity of waiting, he was summoned inside, where Mrs. O'Dealy sat behind her desk, smiling. Judex walked in, pale as a ghost. One look at him and her smile faltered. "Are you okay, Judex? Maybe this idea of going back to school isn't as appealing as a..." Judex cut her off before she could finish her thought. "No, Miss O'Dealy. I would very much love to go to school, but I'm very, very sorry." Her confusion was palpable, but before she could say anything, Judex, whose face was turning red, plowed ahead with what could only be described as the most awkward confession ever. "I did you a great wrong, a long time ago. I was just a teenager. You were like 5 years old." Mrs. O'Dealy was transfixed. What was he talking about? Judex continued. "In Delta State, Worry, I was among the people who came to your house and kidnapped your father. My uncle, now late, was the gang's ringleader, and I was just 17 years old at the time." He lowered his voice. The weight of guilt has been pulling at him like an unrelenting anchor. "Your face has haunted me all these years. Whatever you wish to do to me today, I won't hold it against you. I deserve it." And there it was. The room hung heavy with the gravity of his words. There was utter silence for a few minutes. After what felt like an eternity, Ms. O'Dealy, still looking confused, spoke. "I will need a few days to process this. Please, you can leave now. My secretary will inform you when I am ready to see you again." Judex left her office feeling like he had been hit on the head with a cinder block. 3 days passed. 3 days of fear, worry, and uncertainty about what the future held. Judex was summoned. As he entered O'Dealy's office, she could see he was shaking, his hands held behind him. He seemed to have aged considerably those past 3 days. She felt empathy for him. The look on her face was one of motherly love. "It took a mountain of courage to spill the beans, Judex. You could have kept quiet, but here we are. The scars from that episode, the pain that incident inflicted in my heart will never depart from me. It reminds me every day just how fragile life is. But here's the silver lining. You risked losing everything just by telling me the truth, which confirms to me that everything I have heard about the good work you are doing is real. Your uncle took advantage of your trust, turning you into a tragic tale. And in the twisted irony of fate, you became a perpetrator yourself, a walking paradox. If I were to throw you in the slammer today, sure, it would serve justice, but it might snuff out the light for countless young souls who could have benefited from your journey. So, thank you for your honesty." Judex just stood there perplexed, tears flowing down his cheeks, his voice shaky but laced with an undercurrent of ghostly relief. Fast forward to today. Judex is happily married to an American and lives in St. Augustine, Florida. He also has a PhD in psychology and still works with Ms. O'Dealy, helping young people navigate the murky waters of depression, anxiety, substance abuse, and juvenile delinquency. So, if Judex can pull off this miraculous turnaround, what's stopping you? It's never too